Welcome everyone to the 21st Annual Carver County Sheriff's Office Recognition Event. I'm Steve Glaser, Patrol Deputy with the Carver County Sheriff's Office, and I'll be your host for today. We would like to do this event in person as we always have, but due to COVID restrictions, we simply can't. So we will be doing this event virtually this year. First, I would like to invite Sheriff Jason Kamerud to come up and say a few words.
Hi, Sheriff Jason Kamerud here. I want to welcome you to the 21st Annual Employee Awards and Recognition at the Carver County Sheriff's Office. We are so proud of the work that our employees do, and we like to take this opportunity to recognize the good work that they've done all year long. COVID-19 requires us to do this event virtually, and we have taken reasonable precautions to keep all participants safe.
Thank you, Sheriff. I do want to share with everyone the process that we go through with the awards committee. Anyone within the Sheriff's Office can nominate anyone else. The nomination forms then come to the awards committee. We review them, make a recommendation, and then it goes to the sheriff for his final approval. I also want to make sure that I recognize all of the members of the awards committee. There is a tremendous amount of work and effort that goes into this, and I want to make sure that all of them are recognized. Debbie Stoliker, Sergeant Colleen Freiberg, Detective Josh Baker, Jessica Dockery, Jesse Mueller, Myron Karkey, Deputy Adam Hastings, Kelly Miller, Commander Deb Page, and myself. Whenever we do this in person and I am hosting the event, I always make sure that I find what I believe is a good quote to share with everyone as an acknowledgement of all the work that we're going to recognize today. And this particular one I found from Maya Angelou. I think a hero is any person really intent on making this a better place for all people. Many of you will have a program. That is the order that we will be going through the awards today. And the first awards that we're going to go into are the Medals of Distinction. The Medal of Distinction is a medal, a ribbon bar, and a framed certificate. And a Medal of Distinction may be awarded for an act where through communication skills or actions ends an incident that was likely to cause death or serious injury to themselves or another. The first Medal of Distinction goes to Detective Alex Bajolski and Detective Neil Kunow. This was an incident that happened May of 2020 in the western portion of our county. There was an individual experiencing a severe mental health crisis, and they were threatening another person with a hammer. They also got into their tractor trailer, ran over a number of diesel pumps, caused a considerable amount of damage, and then tried to flee the scene. In that attempt, they did get their truck stuck in a ditch. These two individuals had a face-to-face interaction with the person in the tractor trailer, and through their communication skills, after about a 3-hour negotiation, they were able to get the person to comply and exit the truck, and he was taken into custody and brought to a hospital for care. And it is very clear that through their communication skills, they prevented something potentially far more serious from happening. So congratulations to Detective Bajolski and Detective Kunow. The next Medal of Distinction is for Deputy Matt Pizik. This incident happened August of 2020. It was an incident that I happened to be at also. This involved an individual who became extremely upset, got into a verbal altercation with his girlfriend. This individual jumped out of his car, ran into the woods, ran to a farm field, then to a farmhouse, caused a considerable amount of damage to the home, and then climbed up to a grain silo. The grain silo, as the deputy that made this nomination, estimated this to be about 130 feet high. The individual was on top of the grain silo, threatening to commit suicide, and Deputy Pizik did a phenomenal job talking with this individual, explaining how we could help him, and this negotiation went on for close to an hour. All the rest of the deputies that were there, this individual did not want to interact with him at all. And through his communication skills, Deputy Pizik did get the individual to climb down the grain silo on his own, and this individual was taken to hospital for care. And one of the things that I noted in this nomination form that I think is very, very important to share is the deputy that nominated Deputy Pizik said that when Deputy Pizik spoke with the individual experiencing this crisis, the individual said that Deputy Pizik made him, quote, feel heard and seen. And that's a very, very powerful statement from somebody who's experiencing this kind of crisis. So congratulations, Deputy Pizik. The next awards we will go through are the Life-Saving Awards. This also is a medal, a ribbon, bar, and a framed certificate. The Life-Saving Award may be awarded due to promptness and alert action and a human life is saved. The Life-Saving Award may be issued to an employee or a citizen, and the employee may be on duty or off duty. The first Life-Saving Award is for Deputy Colin Hennessy. This was an incident that happened April of 2020 in the city of Waconia. We received a medical call of an unconscious 21-year-old female. Deputy Hennessy arrived, found that the female was not breathing, her lips were turning blue, and through discussion with the people on the scene found out, believed that she was overdosing. Deputy Hennessy administered 1 dose of Narcan. That did not bring the person around. 2 more doses of Narcan were used, and after that 3rd dose, the person did wake up and recovered completely. Deputy Hennessy then conducted a considerable investigation into where these narcotics were acquired and did a phenomenal job and found out this person was taking more than what she thought she was taking and actually had overdosed a few days earlier unbeknownst to anybody. Deputy Hennessy not only saved her life, he conducted an excellent investigation involving the narcotics activity and was able to get an arrest through that. So congratulations, Deputy Hennessy, on your Life-Saving Award. The next Life-Saving Award is for Deputy Mike Palmer, who's a detention deputy for us. This nomination came in September of 2020, and in all of my years working with the awards committee, this was a very unique nomination because this came from an outside entity. And it's an entity that we probably wouldn't expect to receive one from. It's from the Minnesota Court of Appeals, the Minnesota Judicial Center. And it came from a Minnesota Court of Appeals judge. Deputy Palmer was at a wedding reception that this particular judge and his wife happened to be at. During the reception, unbeknownst to Deputy Palmer who this woman was, she started choking. Deputy Palmer immediately jumped up, saw what was happening, ran over, conducted the Heimlich maneuver, and the object was dispelled immediately, clearly saving the person's life. And I do want to quote also what this judge wrote to Sheriff Kamerud regarding Deputy Palmer's actions. The judge wrote, Deputy Palmer immediately raced over to her, being the judge's wife, and performed the Heimlich maneuver. If it were not for the actions of Deputy Palmer, my wife would have died. Deputy Palmer's training, grace under pressure, and quick thinking saved the day. We are eternally grateful to him and your office. It's a very, very powerful statement. So congratulations to you, Deputy Palmer, for your Life-Saving Award. The next awards that we have is the Unit Citation. The Unit Citation is a plaque that is hung in the office for display, and also each member is given a certificate. And the Unit Citation may be awarded to a division, unit, or section for exemplary service for a specific action. This particular Unit Citation is for a group of our dispatches that were working on December 23rd of 2020. And for any of you that were around this area during that date, you will not forget it because it was a lifetime storm. The group of dispatchers that were working were Charm Clare, Emily Kolstock, Kelsey Hoffman, Tyler Hoyle, Todd Moen, Linda Mollenbach, Peter Sauter, and Connie Schwichtenberg. This particular nomination form that was written up, again, was on December 23rd for roughly an 8-hour time frame from about 2 p.m. to about 10 p.m. There was a winter storm that came that started with freezing rain, then heavy snow, and then extremely quick dropping temperatures. During that roughly 8-hour time frame, the dispatch center had hundreds of calls for vehicles that were either in the ditch, stuck on the roadway and abandoned, or actual crashes. During this roughly 8-hour time frame, the nomination says that the phones in our dispatch center, which included 4 dispatchers and a supervisor, the phones literally never stopped ringing for 8 hours straight. During that time frame, they had approximately 350 calls for service. Although it does vary from day to day and throughout the year, but an average 24-hour time frame, we might have 100 to 150 calls. So a third of a day, their call load went up about 3 times, astronomical call volume. Dispatchers did a phenomenal job, and even the senior dispatchers down there said that was the busiest day they'd ever experienced. This particular storm was so severe, 2 of those dispatchers could not even get home. They had to sleep in the dispatch center. So congratulations to those dispatchers for their unit citation. The next award that we have is the Office Recognition, which is a frame certificate. The Office Recognition may be awarded for highly exceptional law enforcement actions or for a significant accomplishment or achievement which brings credit to the office and involve performance significantly above and beyond their normal expected and required assignment for that member. These acts could improve administration, operations, and savings in personal resources or operational costs. The first office recognition is for Assistant Jail Administrator Tracy Dotis and Lieutenant Eric Kittleson. And although this nomination was written up December of 2020, this project goes back many, many years. However, the project itself went through the entire year of 2020. And these two individuals, what they did is they instilled the Lexipol Policy Manual, which is an electronic policy manual. Prior to that, in my tenure here, this is a third iteration of policy manuals. All of the previous ones were paper form. This policy manual is electronic. Therefore, it is the initial cost savings of not having actual binders and paper and running these manuals around to people. The other huge savings is that the policy manual is done electronically. So we log in, we approve them, we can look at updated policies and improve them electronically, whereas the old way, a supervisor would have to meet up with us, give us a piece of paper, we would sign it, it would be brought down to the sheriff's office and filed manually. So the cost savings is immense and the time saving is even more. And one of the things that I did note was in information I received from Assistant Jail Administrator Tracy Dotis, she stated that the project took the entire year from conversion to implementation. And clearly, these two individuals spent almost the majority of their workday for 4 months working on this project. This is way more than what would be a normal workday for them. So congratulations to the two of you for implementing the Lexipol Policy Manual. The next office recognition is for Sergeant Chris Nelson. This was written up July of 2020. Sergeant Nelson acquired a grant for the Sheriff's Office for AEDs, our automated external defibrillators. Our previous AEDs were aging. It was difficult to get parts, the batteries, the pads, and so on, and it was time to get those replaced. Sergeant Nelson was able to get a grant to replace 20 of our AEDs. I don't know what they cost, but they've got to be close to $1,000. So approximately $20,000 Sergeant Nelson was able to save our county taxpayers in our budget by getting this grant to replace with these AEDs. So a phenomenal job by Sergeant Nelson in getting that grant. So congratulations. The next awards are the Letters of Recognition, which is a frame certificate. The Letter of Recognition may be awarded for special efforts or actions, outstanding professional performance of duties, or significant acts of community service. The first letter of recognition is for Sergeant James Clark. This incident occurred August of 2020, and Sergeant Clark was off duty, was shopping at a local convenience store, and the person in front of him happened to be an elderly female, and he heard a conversation that she wanted to purchase about $1,000 in gift cards. That piqued his interest, as that is something that somebody would do who's being scammed. And Sergeant Clark simply listened to the conversation with this individual and the clerk and found out that the person was actually purchasing these to enter the numbers online for someone. When Sergeant Clark had the conversation with this lady, he found out that she had already sent over $1,000 of her own money in gift cards to this individual, and she had come back to purchase more gift cards. Sergeant Clark was able to explain to the lady that this was a scam and that she should not purchase these gift cards. So that first saved this lady at least $1,000. Sergeant Clark also walked the lady through the process to report this to law enforcement so that an investigation could occur in an attempt to find who the suspect was. What's important to understand with these cases is that this isn't like a credit card fraud. This woman spent her actual money on these gift cards. She's out that money. So Sergeant Clark did a phenomenal job just paying attention and being alert to this incident and saved this woman at least $1,000. So congratulations, Sergeant Clark. The next letter of recognition goes to Deputy Adam Hastings. This incident happened June of 2020, and I was able to witness the phenomenal actions that Deputy Hastings performed during this day. We were dispatched to a call of a 14-year-old autistic male that had run away from home. We're familiar with this individual. He's typically very interactive, very high functioning, However, when he shuts down completely. He will not talk to you, he will not move, he simply sits there. This particular day, he ran away from home. A number of deputies and the fire department did respond, searched for the individual. Deputy Hastings found that this individual had run across Highway 5 in the city of Victoria at a busy time. Once Deputy Hastings found him, instead of chasing him, he simply stopped his squad car and made it, put it in a position so the individual would not want to cross Highway 5 again. Deputy Hastings did not chase the individual, simply got out of a squad car, walked towards the individual, and encouraged the individual to walk a different way away from the highway, which worked. The individual got to a home, became extremely frustrated, and simply sat down and became completely non-interactive. Wouldn't talk with us, wouldn't communicate anything. Deputy Hastings did an excellent job communicating with this individual, trying to find out what would work to get him to comply and go back home with his family. After a period of time, the individual did stand up, walked towards a landscaping wall, started to climb it, and of course we were concerned that he could jump off and be injured. Deputy Hastings simply wrapped the person up, kind of like a bear hug, didn't throw him on the ground, didn't fight with him, just wrapped him up to keep him safe. After doing that, the individual then started kicking Deputy Hastings. I was going to grab the individual's legs to prevent that, and Deputy Hastings, with just a quick swipe of his hand, encouraged me to stay away. So I did, I noticed that. And Deputy Hastings allowed this individual just to continue to kick him and try to release some energy. Eventually, the individual stopped and started talking with Deputy Hastings. About a half hour, if not longer, finally Deputy Hastings was able to encourage the person enough to get into his parents' car and go home. This is a very good example of the training that law enforcement receives and how we deal with individuals, specifically this individual who was autistic. And instead of having to be physical with the individual, taking our time and using our communication skills to get the person home, which is ultimately what was needed. So congratulations, Deputy Hastings. The next awards we will do are the Public Safety Service Recognition, which is a framed certificate. The Public Safety Service Recognition may be awarded to a member of another public safety agency for personal assistance to the Sheriff's Office in apprehending a criminal, providing prompt action to aid injured persons or those in danger, or providing other significant services to the Sheriff's Office. The first Public Safety Service Recognition goes to Chaska Officer Eric Wolf. This incident was on August of 2020. We were dispatched to a theft in progress at Fleet Farm in the city of Carver, and what we found out later was the individuals had actually stole over $2,000 worth of property from Fleet Farm. Chaska Officer Wolf was in the area and self-dispatched to the call. We were given a license plate for the vehicle. Officer Wolf found the vehicle, got behind the vehicle, and was waiting for another officer to assist in the traffic stop. The individual driving the car made a quick, unplanned turn into a driveway, forcing Officer Wolf to make a decision. There was a high-risk traffic stop that occurred. 3 individuals were taken into custody, and we then found that the vehicle was full of stolen property, not just from Fleet Farm, but from other businesses. Through the investigation, one of the individuals had a felony warrant for their arrest. We also found out, which is critical to this, and how Officer Wolf assisted us so immensely in this case. Although Fleet Farm Loss Prevention did have the license plate for the vehicle, we found that that license plate was actually for another vehicle and it registered to a car dealership. So when we ran that license plate, it wouldn't have assisted us anyway, and clearly these people would have gotten away. Once the investigation was complete, we had multiple felony arrests, multiple felony charges, and all of the property that was stolen from Fleet Farm was immediately returned to them undamaged. So thank you, Officer Wolf, and congratulations. The next Public Safety Service Recognition goes to Chaska Officer Joe Carlson. This incident occurred June of 2020, happened in the city of Chanhassen, in an area bordering the city of Chaska. We were dispatched to an assault call where a woman was stabbed in the neck. Officer Carlson was the first one that arrived. And where this area is, it is kind of set up like a hotel, but they are individual residential units, approximately 20 that are all ground level. Officer Carlson immediately got to the female that was injured and got her into the ambulance. We found out while we were at the scene that initially the injury appeared not too serious. What we found out later is that through medical scanning, there was possible bubbling in the individual's trachea, and she had possible other airway complications, and she was transferred to Hennepin County Medical Center for possible surgical intervention. When we found that out at the scene, we then determined this was obviously a very, very serious assault. We did find that the suspect was holed up in his apartment or in his unit, refused to comply with us, refused to interact with us. Because of the serious nature of this and with a weapon being involved, we did evacuate all of the neighboring units, and we also activated our SWAT team. We did have containment of the suspect, and all the other residences were evacuated. Officer Carlson attempted to use his communication skills to interact with the suspect, and eventually the suspect did talk with Officer Carlson. Officer Carlson is trained as a crisis negotiator, and over my many, many years and his, I've seen him use these skills many times to gain compliance with suspects, and this was another time. Officer Carlson did an excellent job gaining the individual's trust, and through that time, he did get the suspect to comply, come out of the apartment with his hands up, and he was taken into custody without incident. The SWAT team did not even have to respond and take over the incident. Officer Carlson did a phenomenal job assisting us in getting this suspect into custody. Thank you, Officer Carlson. Congratulations. The next awards are the Citizen Service Recognition, which is a frame certificate. The Citizen Service Recognition may be awarded to a private citizen for apprehending a criminal, providing prompt action and aid to injured persons or those in danger, or providing other significant services to the Sheriff's Office. The first Citizen Service Recognition is an incident that happened June of 2020 in the city of Chanhassen. And the individuals are Catherine McGowan, Jessica Shaw, Emilio Gomez, Ethan Tavote, Kyle Logslet, and Tanya Logslet. This was an incident where this group of individuals was outside near a beach owned and managed by a homeowners association. And while they were walking around, they did see that there was an individual face down in the water. There were also members of this group that removed the individual from the water and performed CPR. Unfortunately, this individual did die. These 6 citizens did an excellent job doing the best that they could during this situation, and we are very, very much appreciative for their assistance. The next Citizen Service Recognition is for Allison and Raul Renborg. This was an incident that I was dispatched to in the city of Victoria, July of 2020. I was dispatched to a male that had his finger caught in a machine, and upon my arrival, I found out it was actually a far more severe injury. The individual, who was a construction worker, had sawed off nearly his entire hand with a circular saw. The individuals, Allison and Raul, happened to be walking their dog in the area. They heard the screaming and yelling for help. They ran up to see what they could do. They found out how serious the injury was. One of them called 911. Another person, once they saw that there was actual appendages that had been sawed off, they instructed someone to find a bag, put those appendages in the bag, and get them on ice. This is done in an attempt to provide health to the appendages in an attempt to have them reattached through surgery. These 2 citizens were the ones that called 911 and got us there as quickly as we could to provide the best care for this individual. So congratulations and thank you. The next Citizen Service Recognition is for Douglas Umbati and Megan Legler-Ferguson. This was an incident April of 2020 in the city of Waconia near Southview Elementary School. These 2 individuals were out walking and they saw a very young child who they estimated to be about 2 years old, simply running around the area with no responsible adult around. They went up to the child, were able to have a conversation, and realized there was no adults with them or around them. They did call 911 to have us respond, which we did, and they also kept the child with them until law enforcement arrived. It did take us over 2 hours to find where this child lived and to find their parents, which is longer than what many times it takes, at least in relation to calls that I've been on like this. And during that 2 hours, both Douglas and Megan stayed on scene and assisted in any way that they could. So we're very appreciative to Douglas and to Megan for their assistance in this incident and for their help with the child and the family. One of the things with the awards committee that we do is we do have challenge coins that we give to people. All deputies are issued these challenge coins, and sometimes it's a deputy giving it to a peer, sometimes it's a supervisor giving it to a subordinate, and we also give these challenge coins to citizens. We give the challenge coin to show immediate recognition for the actions of either somebody with the sheriff's office or a citizen. When these challenge coins are given out, the deputy or sheriff's office employee fills out a form, and those forms come to the awards committee. We'd like to see what people are being recognized for, and then sometimes we notice that this is something that could be noted for a higher level of recognition. We also want to make sure that we acknowledge and recognize those that have received challenge coins. The first challenge coin is for Susan Browskin. Early in the COVID-19 pandemic, we became very aware that we were short on masks, not just within the sheriff's office or Carver County, but throughout the nation. Susan purchased with her own money approximately $140 worth of N95 masks and donated them to the sheriff's office. And she was given a challenge coin for that, so thank you, Susan. There was also a challenge coin given to two individuals, Kaylee Bach and John Gilchrist. This was an incident that happened in Waconia involving somebody experiencing a mental health crisis. Kaylee and John were out for a walk and saw a vehicle in a parking lot and obviously noticed that there was a hose running from the exhaust pipe into the passenger compartment. They ran up to the truck, and the first thing they did was remove the hose from the pipe, and then they engaged in a conversation with the person in the truck. They also called 911 to have the sheriff's office respond. The individual in the truck was experiencing a severe mental health crisis. However, he very quickly acknowledged he simply wanted help. And he was doing that hoping somebody would see him and get him the help that he needed. So John and Kaylee were given challenge coins at the scene for their assistance at this incident, and thank you. Challenge coins were also given to Douglas Ombody and Megan Legler Ferguson for their involvement in helping assist with that 2-year-old that had run away from home. June of 2020, Jared Brewington was given a challenge coin. Jared Brewington is a local restaurateur and was actively involved in assisting in getting meals donated to first responders that were involved in the COVID-19 pandemic. He did work with a specific pork producer that had an overabundance of pork product and was able to get meals donated to all of the sheriff's office employees. Mr. Brewington was given a challenge coin, and we appreciate the effort that he went through for all of us with the sheriff's office. Deputy Josh Baker responded to a call at the Quick Trip in Chanhassen, and he gave a challenge coin to Bailey Brockhoff. Bailey works at the Quick Trip, and during his shift, a person came up and wanted to purchase $6,000 in gift cards. And immediately Bailey realized something was not right with this. So Bailey not only did not allow the person to do it, he contacted the sheriff's office to see if there's some kind of assistance we could provide. Deputy Baker responded. The individual was going to purchase these gift cards in relation to a scam that they did respond to online. So clearly Bailey prevented this person from losing $6,000. So congratulations, Bailey, and thank you. December of 2020, the city of Chanhassen had a rash of mail thefts. There were some also in neighboring communities, Eden Prairie and other areas. However, this one particular neighborhood in Chanhassen was getting hit a lot. And it was night after night. I was working many of those nights. We would flood the area with squad cars and we could never find the individual. Deputy Baker was assisted by Alan Goshi, and Deputy Baker gave Mr. Goshi a challenge coin. Mr. Goshi had inquired with the sheriff's office if it would be of assistance for him to put a camera on his mailbox in an attempt to get video or still pictures of the suspect. That did happen, and we had phenomenal photos of the suspect. We posted those on our social media, and within hours, we not only had the suspect identified, we had his full name, date of birth, address, where he lived, his phone numbers, all of his information. We had contact with him, did receive a full confession. He was arrested and charged with those. Clearly by Mr. Goshi using this camera system set up on his mailbox, it assisted us in identifying the suspect, so thank you. The next challenge coin was given to Deputy Scott Wallert, who was a detention deputy in our jail. This was given to him by his supervisor. Deputy Wallert was initially scheduled to work a Monday through Friday type shift. In the last few months of 2020, he was approached and asked if he could change his schedule literally overnight to work night shift. And Deputy Wallert immediately said he would do that and assist in any way that he could. And his supervisor, in noting on the nomination form, did state that Deputy Wallert regularly makes sacrifices for the sheriff's office, and he does this with a very good attitude. So thank you, Deputy Wallert. The next challenge coin was given to Deputy Ashley Kane Zafke. This was an incident that happened in the city of Waconia very early in the COVID-19 pandemic, where there was a lot of unknowns and or misinformation that was going around. Deputy Kane Zafke was dispatched to a disturbance at a local restaurant in the city of Waconia, where two young males were in a vehicle going through the drive-thru, and one of the individuals very clearly and intentionally, as it's reported in this nomination form, coughed forcefully on the employee. When this occurred, the employee actually was extremely disturbed by it, and as I note in the nomination form, and I wanted to make sure that I quoted it exactly, the employee said, quote, "This isn't a joke right now, I want to be safe." Deputy Kane Zafke actually conducted an extensive investigation into this. She was able to acquire surveillance video, was able to find out what the license plate was on the suspect vehicle, tracked it down, spoke to the owner of the vehicle, who was the parent of one of the persons in the vehicle. She then was able to actually get statements from everybody involved, including the two people in the vehicle. The suspect considered it a joke, and through her quite extensive investigation, was actually able to charge the suspect with a crime for what is reported as this forceful cough, which clearly very, very upset the victim in this case. And it was noted by Deputy Kane Zafke's supervisor, the excellent job that she did on this case. So congratulations. The next challenge coin was given to Stephen Kirkvlet, who is a volunteer with our dive team. Mr. Kirkvlet has been with the dive team for over 20 years. His report is being very energetic and very involved. The particular situation that Mr. Kirkvlet was involved in had to do with acquiring a new ROV, an underwater robot in essence, for the dive team. He spent countless hours of his own time researching different vendors, different ROVs, price points, etc. And through his work was able to acquire the best one for the best price. In addition to that, he also provided the training program for it and wrote up a training manual. So excellent work by Mr. Kirkvlet, and thank you. A challenge coin was also given to Deputy Pizik for his involvement in the mental health situation with the individual that had climbed on top of the grain silo. Deputy Colin Hennessy was also given a challenge coin for his involvement in the life-saving award, where he administered the 3 doses of Narcan. Deputy James Lundell was given a challenge coin by one of his peers, a fellow deputy. Both of them are involved with our peer counseling program. I do think the quote is very important in this one because the members of our peer counseling program do an excellent job working with fellow members of the Sheriff's Office, not just licensed deputies, but anybody in the Sheriff's Office that is experiencing situations in their personal life where they could use some assistance. The specific quote from the deputy nominating Deputy Lundell is that Deputy Lundell faced countless challenges while assisting a peer and persevered. Due to Deputy Lundell's passion and care for his peers, he undoubtedly positively impacted the peer's life. Deputy Lundell's work mirrored the Carver County Sheriff's Office mission statement. Corporal Keith Johnson was given a challenge coin by his supervisor. Corporal Johnson has worked in our jail for over 25 years. In the last 6 has worked with our programs division. And during that time, there has been a staffing shortage, and his workload has actually doubled. And Corporal Johnson has done an excellent job meeting the needs of the inmates, even though he has had such a high workload. And it was noted that Corporal Johnson has an excellent work ethic and, quote, unwavering dedication to the Sheriff's Office. So congratulations, Corporal Johnson. During our recognition event, we always want to recognize those for their years of service. With the Sheriff's Office, we are issued pins based on 5, 10, 15, etc., 5-year increments for years of service. The first one is for 35 years of service, is our posse member, Jim Merrick. For 30 years of service, Sheriff Jason Kamerud and Dispatcher Peter Sauter, who is also our TAC officer. For 25 years of service, Lieutenant Lance Pierce, Deputy Jeff Trick, Detention Deputy Keith Johnson, and Dispatcher Lisa Anderley. For 20 years of service, Dive Team member Greg Prolix, Deputy Gary Stulke, Sergeant Jake Hodge, Sergeant Peter Anderley, Detention Deputy Dan Snow, Deputy Steve Glaser, Dive Team Member Chris Oakley, Dive Team Member Stephen Kirklet, Deputy Larry Lassard, Sergeant DeWitt Meyer, and Dive Team Member Dan Revsbach. For 15 years of service, Sergeant James Clark, Sergeant Chris Nelson, Deputy Bradley Hendricks, Detention Sergeant Zachary Beebe, Commander Mike Woleen, Detention Sergeant Ben Beyer, and Dispatcher Josh Harenkar. For 10 years of service, Posse Member Becky Scott and Sergeant Tyler Ston. For 5 years of service, Deputy Corey Hansen, Deputy James Lindell, Dispatch Supervisor Todd Moen, Chaplain Stefan Wesmer, Detective Alex Bajalski, Deputy Caitlin Otto, Deputy Kevin Golden, Emergency Management Specialist Kelly Miller, Chaplain Donald Andricks, and Deputy Carly Amberg. There are some individuals with the Sheriff's Office that will receive recognitions from outside agencies or entities, and we always want to make sure that we acknowledge them also. This year we had 3 people. The first one was Deputy Travis Larson, was recognized by the Department of Public Safety as a DWI All-Star. I worked with Deputy Larson, and he did an excellent job being very aggressive in traffic enforcement and arresting many, many people for DWI and making our roadways more safe. So congratulations, Deputy Larson. Deputy Steve Glaser and Deputy Kevin Schnorrenberg were recognized by the Office of Traffic Safety during one of the Toward Zero Death speed waves for their enforcement of the speed laws during that wave. We also want to acknowledge 3 Sheriff's Office employees who are members of our military and were recently deployed. Deputy Joseph Chafin, Dispatcher Jeremy Plonsky, and Detention Deputy Tamara Schmidt were recently deployed. And how we always end our recognition event is the recognition of our retirees and the decades and decades of service that they provide to the citizens of Carver County. And last year, Deputy Scott Taji, Detention Deputy Jane Wolf, Deputy Bob Zadowski, and Sergeant Bromwell all retired. Congratulations, and we wish you health and wellness in your retirement. Of course, next year we hope that we can have this event in person. We hope that by doing this in this virtual format, it did honor all of those that are so deserving of this recognition. And we thank each and every one of you for everything that you did to help those that were in need in Carver County the last year.
I want to thank all of you for joining us on this first virtual employee recognition. I also want to thank our MC, Deputy Steve Glaser, for carrying this heavy load. And we have a variety of employees on our recognition committee who worked really hard to put this event together for us. And I want to thank them for their great work. Thank you.